Hello everyone, welcome to the Seagram's Grand Final. I'm your chair, Alicia. Congrats to making it here. We'll let the panel introduce themselves to my right.
My name is Advait. I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Jonathan Lyashko. I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Ananya. I use she, her.
Ted, he, him.
Cool. If we can just get introductions, speaker orders, and timings from each team. So starting with government.
Malcolm, Prime Minister of His Majesty's Government. He, him pronouns, and he will be a PMRE.
Hi, Alicia, she, her pronouns, and I'll be speaking second.
Okay, awesome. Off.
Hi, I'm Xander. I'll be speaking first. I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, my name's Ethan, he, him, they. We're going to be doing traditional, so the 10-minute.
Okay, great. Then if there are no questions, without further ado, let's get this round started. We call upon the Prime Minister to give a speech not exceeding 6 minutes. Here.
Okay. I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. I've never been in a finals before. I think I'm supposed to thank people, but I don't really know who to thank. Thanks, Annie, for being a good president of EDS, and everyone go sign up to judge tournaments for seed and come to Gandil. Okay, let's talk about this motion, right? I think that the most important thing that we get here is your fulfillment as a person and specifically as like a professional fighter. I think we're also going to talk about money. I think that the harm that we are going to bite is that we are going to make considerably less money, even if everything goes perfectly for us in this world, even if we beat Oliveira, even if we get to, go on to fight the champion and beat him too and become the lightweight champion of the world. It's probably going to be significantly less money on that side of the house than even just this one fight with McGregor, win or lose. I'm going to tell you about why this doesn't matter, how we can make money off of our brand not more money than McGregor fight, but enough money on our side of the house, and basically like why our mental state is super important, right? Because I think our whole career panel has been aiming to be the best in the world. We are like 37 years old. That's like however long since we've known we wanted to be a fighter. Has been like this heat-seeking missile towards I want to be the best in the world. I want to hit people. I want to kick people. I want to elbow people. I want to separate people from consciousness. I want to be the most violent person in the world. I don't want another human being to be able to best me in single combat, right? And I think that when you're like waiting out to fight McGregor, when you turn down this fight with this guy who's beat you before, right? When you turn down this fight that brings you closer to being the world champion, you are essentially admitting that you do not believe that you have a chance to actually beat him. That when he beat you before, that was the outcome, that guaranteed outcome of the fight, right? Like, I think that you know in your head that you're still one of the best fighters on earth. You're number 6, right? You're still within arm's reach of being champion. There is no reason why you should not actually work towards that goal. And I think that it'll be absolutely devastating to your mental state, not just right now, not just, but in the future, and as well devastating to the amount of respect you get from the fans going forward, right? So let's talk about money as well. I'll take a POI at this point if you have one. No, okay, I'll try later because I'm just being super charitable panel and you should give me points for that, right? I think that money doesn't matter as much. I think you're already kind of well known. You're number 6 in the world. You've had a long career. You're super entertaining and everyone knows it. And I think you're going to be able to capitalize on your name value. I think that, first of all, there's only so much money you can make before money doesn't matter, right? There's probably a threshold of comfortability. But I'm going to talk about this more later. You can use your name recognition to make money even if you lose this fight. But yeah, if you do not take this fight, you are going to regret it for the rest of your life, right? You are going to feel like a sellout panel. The headspace for your future fights will be, I turned down a fight with somebody I know is good because I wanted a payday, right? The rest of your career and the rest of your life, you will feel like you never tried. You're going to be 80 and your knees will no longer exist. They're going to be turned into powder and you're going to be sitting there, right? And you're going to think, wow, I had this chance to try and be the world champion, the best in the world, and I turned it down. Yeah, maybe you're going to be doing it in a 4-poster bed with gold leaf on the curtains, but that still doesn't matter. You're going to know you're a fighter, right? You're going to know in your heart, it's better to die with honor than live in shame, etc. Beyond that, this guy already beat you. You probably want to get that loss back, right? You're also going to look like a sellout panel because, remember, this is fighting, right? I think everything we know, we've seen the clips of, Muhammad Ali. We've seen the clips of even Conor McGregor, right? People talk shit in fights. Your opponents talk shit. The fans will, boo you. They cheer you, right? This is very easy ammo for your opponents to talk shit about you. Oh, Michael Chandler, he's a bum. He's a sellout. He gave up his career, the prime of his career, his last chance to become champion just to get a payday, right? He doesn't want to be champion. I'm going to beat him easy. He doesn't want to be champion. He's not even good, right? The perception of you from all the fans is that you're begging for a payday, and this is the perception that you're going to have for yourself. Yes?
why couldn't you just go to the social media or do a PR interview or anything like that, wherein you outline your reasoning for your decision and outline that it is because you want to fight one of the greatest of all time and use the public support in that manner?
Yeah, I mean, probably you can do this, but I think that, first of all, like, fans are fickle. If I don't like Chandler already, I'm going to see that and be like, look at this guy. He's going to the public. He's trying to, like, beg them not to hate him for taking a payday over a good fighter. Like, the narrative will continue. Maybe you can mitigate the narrative on your side of the house by, like, doing this, but you can't get rid of it altogether, and you certainly cannot get it out of your own head, which is much more important, and this POI does not engage with it at all, right? Like, yeah, I think the fans matter to some extent, and the fans will reinforce the narrative in your own head, but even if all the fans are on your side on this, you yourself in your heart will know that you gave up on an opportunity to be the best single combat fighter on earth. Well, second best after me. Like, best single to, like, maybe get a few extra $1 million, right? Or maybe a few dozen extra $1 million, right? So, like, public impression is super important, right? You're at the peak of your fame. The fans know who you are. They know you as a fun fighter. You can, like, very easily turn this into branding. Even if you lose against Oliveira, maybe you can do something fun in the fight, like slam him or something like that, right? You can post a clip on your social media and be like, well, I tried, guys, right? Like, I think that, like, probably we actually get more social media and fan support by, like, explaining things on our side of the house if we actually try to be a good fighter, just coming off of that POI. Like, have fans talking about how fun your fights are. You know, you can build up your name brand and try, I don't know, like, attach your name to, like, a tequila brand and sell it. And I think the more you're viewed as, like, a legitimate fighter, the more you're going to be able to get away with this, right? The worst case scenario is one in which you lose and you don't get the McGregor fight afterwards, but this is still fine. You can still build your name up by taking entertaining fights. You can still make money off your brand, but most importantly, you will know you tried and you'll never regret not trying. The more you lose, the more you get the sense of revenge, which pushes you to perform. Maybe you won't always win, but you'll try harder. You'll push through being hurt better, which will make the fights more fun, make the fans respect you more, and make you respect yourself. In opposition's best case, you fight McGregor, you win, you make $100 million. You still spent all this time on a fight that brings you no closer to the title. Maybe it raises your profile. Maybe you call out Oliveira afterwards. Maybe you get that fight. But you'll still know in your heart that that fight was given to you, that, like, when you had the chance to become champion sooner, you turned it down because you were scared of a real challenge and you don't actually want to be champion. Proud to propose.
We'd like to thank that speaker for that excellent speech and call upon the DLO for a speech not exceeding 7 minutes. Here.
Okay, starting at my next word. Side government mischaracterizes the best outcomes possible for both sides of the bench in this argument. The fact of the matter is this: Conor McGregor is seen by everybody, most importantly UFC President Dana White, as one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time. He's a dick. People don't like him, but people are forced to respect the fact that he has been the champion before. He's been a double champion before. He has dominated the UFC in a manner the likes of which hadn't been seen before and have barely been seen since. He is a credible fight for Michael Chandler to take, and beating him would, in perhaps the most important point that side opposition is going to offer up in this debate, very likely get Michael Chandler a UFC title shot. Most importantly, the Conor McGregor fight for Michael Chandler is far, far more winnable. Side government will tell you freely that a fight with Charles Oliveira, in the best case scenario, Michael Chandler beats him and then he gets a shot at the champion. This is great. We would love that. But he's not going to beat Charles Oliveira. The Infoslide says it plain as day. Michael Chandler is 37 years old. He's beat up. He's beat up by fights like the one that he had with Charles Oliveira, where he got his shit kicked in for 25 minutes. It is a brutal, brutal sport for people like Michael Chandler who give their bodies in entertaining fights. And that is why the fans revere Michael Chandler already. He is not going to sacrifice a damn thing looking for what Conor McGregor dubs red panty night, where his wife gets to break out the red panties because they've got a lot of money coming home. Conor McGregor is a big money fight for a man that has earned it. He has given his life. He's given years off his life. He is guaranteed to have CTE down the line. And his payoff should be this fight with Conor McGregor. Because if he fights Conor McGregor, a man who Despite the fact that he has lost plenty of fights already in the past couple of years, despite the fact that he's been injured, he deferred this fight because he got hurt, and then he got busted for substance abuse, and then he got caught up in a rape trial. Conor McGregor is a bad fucking guy who has taken a shit kicking almost as bad as Michael Chandler. But Michael Chandler can beat Conor McGregor. Michael Chandler, if he gets this fight, will undoubtedly beat Conor. He will undoubtedly get a huge purse for fighting him, something that side government has already granted us. He will get a bigger purse for beating him. And best of all, he will get exactly what side opposition wants for Michael Chandler most: a UFC lightweight title shot. He will be granted that by Dana White because Conor McGregor is Dana White's prize. He headlines pay-per-views without titles. This is Michael Chandler's fight to win, and a Charles Oliveira fight is undoubtedly Michael Chandler's fight to lose. Charles Oliveira is faster, has a higher fight IQ, and he already beat him once. He's gonna do it again. There's no reason for Michael Chandler to risk facing Charles Oliveira and losing again, because then what happens? He's sure as shit not ever getting a Conor McGregor fight. He's sure as shit not ever getting a title shot. He's 37 years old. He's lucky if he gets another fight again. Dude would be fucked. There'd be nothing left for him. He'd end his career on a low, and for what? Pride? Fuck all that. Dude could get a bag. Dude could get a title match. He can have the best of every single possible world, and the only way to achieve that is by fighting Conor McGregor. There is no universe in which it is a preferable alternative to take a battering from Charles Oliveira for another 25 minutes, to give another couple years off your life that you could be spending with your kids far richer. Instead, side government wants Charles Oliveira to beat the tar out of Michael Chandler. They say that the best case scenario is he wins a grueling battle, and then what? He loses the title match. You know why? Because he put a whole bunch of miles on himself in an Oliveira fight that he didn't need to take. There's a reason that Michael Chandler committed to this Conor McGregor fight 2 years ago. Because it was the best option for him then, and it's an even better option for him now. He's more beat up. He's older. He's more tired. He's less strong. He's less fast. There's no reason for him to take a more dangerous fight than one that he already volunteered himself for. The best case that government presents is a universe where nothing really changes for Michael Chandler, for the positive at least. He walks into a fight. If he wins, and he gets a title match. Great. But he won't win. It's far less likely he'll win. And if he somehow does, it's going to be by way of taking so much damage that he's not going to be able to look at his kids in 20 years and know their names. Taking this fight with Conor McGregor guarantees him a bigger purse. It guarantees him a better life. It guarantees him a more winnable fight. And it guarantees him a higher likelihood of getting to the pinnacle of the sport, which is something that they want for Michael Chandler. Side government is handing this to us. They want a title fight for Michael Chandler. And this is the best way to do it. Damage-free. All he has to do is kick McGregor in his stupid broken leg. It's already been established, and I understand that the judges might not be aware, that Conor McGregor losing a fight to somebody gives that person a title match every fucking time. It is the easiest route to success for Michael Chandler in every respect. For that reason, we are so proud to oppose this motion because Michael Chandler has given everything to this sport for decades. There is no reason for him to risk his health. There is no reason for him to risk the optics of a piss-poor career. He has the ability to beat a legend, and it is surefire more likely than beating Charles Oliveira. He has the ability to do that with taking less damage, and he has the ability to get that UFC title shot without having to take any of the damage. We're so proud to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank the speaker for that excellent speech. Call upon the DPM for a speech on exceeding 7 minutes. We're here.
Time will begin in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I think because opposition is unable to clearly characterize to you why somebody like Michael Chandler could actually gain and aren't charitable about this by fighting somebody like Oliveira. Furthermore, why this probably is going to wreck his character as a fighter is completely going to lose them this round. I think Malcolm already gives you sufficient points on pride, how he's going to feel like a sellout, and how public impression is going to be very damaging. I'm going to mech this out for you, but first and foremost, I'm going to be getting in some refutation of what we've heard from side opposition so far. So the first thing that they tell you, they fully bring this into the round, is the fact that fighting against a guy like McGregor is probably not going to help your perception. How do they tell you this? Note 2 things. First and foremost, they tell you that he has a terrible reputation, that he's a dick, he is not respected in the community, and that this is probably going to be, under their characterization, a Mickey Mouse fight that you can easily win. If side opposition already readily knows this, it means that anybody in the sporting community of like fights of this, I'm not a fan of this, but anyway, if anybody in this community knows about this character as a fighter, they're probably already going to be under the impression that this fight, regardless, is going to be a Mickey Mouse fight. So even if you have all this monetary gain, which they failed to characterize the importance of in the first speech, and I think the second speech is going to be too late, even if all that money is something that's positively associated, I think they failed to characterize importantly why you're going to gain more respect. Just because you beat somebody who was the GOAT like 20 years ago does not give you the status. It's just going to look like you beating up on an old guy or you just selling out for an easier fight, which is not a perception that you want. You are ranked lower than a guy like Charles Oliveira, so you probably would value and probably would gain more from your reputation fighting like somebody like him because you value how your perception is impacted. I'll take you in a minute if I have time. Secondly, then, if you take this into account, they tell you that money is probably going to be something that you're going to appreciate you because it's going to allow you to like expand your brand. This is the best mechanization that they give you, apart from maybe like this is going to help your kids. But I don't think this really aligns with what a fighter values like Malcolm tells you. This is a person that has tremendous pride. Physical sports like this one are specifically characterized due to the fact that there's so much back talk and like people going up against each other and being so pushed on in the media. This means, like Malcolm tells you, that it's probably going to come down a lot to his pride. At the end of the day, this is a guy who has a successful career. He's probably respected in the community, not he's the number one, but respected enough to the extent where money is something that he already has, like Malcolm characterizes. Furthermore, then, because they don't sufficiently tell you why money matters, except for the fact that you're going to be able to expand your brand, that's probably not going to matter to you as much because of the fact that expanding your brand that is 6th best in the world is not going to be as valuable as 6th best in the world that rematched against somebody he lost against. This is something that is tremendously important to understand because of the fact that this is something that the global community sees. This fight with McGregor is probably something that was very televised in the sense that like people were anticipating it to happen. And because of the fact that it is now happening, it is public view that you were offered another opportunity. It is assumed that. So under that circumstance, when we look at the fact that like everybody's expecting you to just like take another fight or want to fight because you're a vicious fighter who can take on anybody, or at least that's the perception that you're trying to present to the world, fighting somebody who's lesser than you is probably not going to be beneficial. I'll take your POA.
You noted that you didn't want Michael Chandler to be the 6th best fighter in the world. You wanted to be somebody better than that. So how would side government's case compare to, how would side government's case make it so that Michael Chandler was seen as a better fighter when side opposition is offering him a winnable title fight?
Because of the fact that winning, like that meaningful title fight probably means shit. This is because it's like me debating somebody who was good at debate like 80 years ago. It's probably not that, like, no hate, but like it's probably not something that's that valuable to me. Like me beating a knob that is incredible is probably going to help my reputation in the debate circuit much more than beating somebody who was good thousands of years ago who is respected amongst like the dinos of the debate community. Like case in point, but that's on him. Anyway then. Last, on to the point that they tell you that you will not win. I think that this is important to address for 2 reasons. Principally, because if you think that you will not win because you have already lost, I think they just assert this. I don't think that it's something that's completely like worked out, so I'm going to make an assumption here. I think that if we look at the fact that you've already lost, it means 2 things. You have particularly a lot of revenge in the sense that you think that you can probably beat this guy. If not, then you have the pride that is being kept intact that you're going to be able to say like, hey, I tried and I did it again. Maybe I won't be able to beat this guy. Furthermore, then, you're not going to look like a sellout from the community. Under their characterization, they tell you that the president of this organization will probably give you a title shot when you beat McGregor. Again, this goes back to the idea that this fight is probably worthless in the status quo. You are trying to protect your legacy. Your legacy is not going to be fighting somebody who was important a couple of years ago. So on that last point, then, the last thing that they tell you is that, like, only McGregor is going to get you this title shot. Read the info slide. That's not the case. It's in there. Malcolm talked about this, and he'll talk about it in his reply speech. So on to recharacterizing and basically rebuilding on what Malcolm said. First and foremost, I don't think we can over-explain the impact that perception and social impact has on stuff like fighting. This is a sport that is uniquely characterized because of like the back talking and like the slander and all of these people being like uniquely against one another. I think that there's going to be two outcomes in this world. If you do not take this fight that you are offered, first and foremost, you are going to look like a ripoff, which means that if you look like a ripoff, this is not going to only affect you because you may feel that way, but B, it's going to affect the way that the global community looks at you as a fighter. Meaning that when you take your next fight, they're going to be like, oh, so he could fight this guy, but he couldn't fight Oliveira? He's probably not that good anyway. Furthermore, then, this is probably something that isn't going to help you. If you lose at a worst case scenario against Oliveira, which could happen, we tell you that, it's probably going to be beneficial to you as a fighter because of the fact that you can say, hey, you know what? I tried. Having people call you a pussy or something like this because you lost a fight is not going to be something that you appreciate because of the fact that, like, you lost against somebody who's already better than you. You're not losing a reputation by fighting this guy. You're only giving you your opportunities to go up in that. It's as if I debate somebody who's really, really good at debate, right? I may lose, I probably will lose, but it's probably fine because I knew that that was an expectation going into it. Now, if I don't even go against them, I have no rep to say, hey, I took on Ananya in a debate, or hey, I went up against this great debater, because it's not something that you can actually count on. For all those points, then, the fact that they don't really address the pride, because they don't tell you why money is really important, we characterize the fact that a guy like Chandler, is going to be really, really interested in the way that he is perceived in the world because of the unique characteristics of his sport, and furthermore, because he doesn't want to look like a sellout and leave a bad legacy. So proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker, for that excellent speech, and call upon the leader of opposition for the traditional 10-minute speech. Here.
The main goal of Proposition Bench is to say that you should take this fight that's being offered to you against Oliveira because you care about this mythical ethos of being the best. And because you are in pursuit of being the best, this is the correct way to get it. I want to be clear, and I ask you to check your notes on this. Have they proven that this is the only way to become the best or be understood as the best? Or have they proven that that's you as a fighter, your only thing that you care about? On opposition, from the outset of our case, we presented two alternatives. The first was that you care about other things. Things like making money and things like your health and well-being, which then connects to like your family tie and stuff like that. The second thing we outlined was that there were other ways to validate yourself as the best and get a title shot and be seen as one of the best. Proposition has at no point refuted either of these characterizations, meaning that the pathway to victory for opposition has become exceptionally straightforward. As long as we can demonstrate that we better achieve either the goals of proposition through our mechanisms or that our alternative desires are more likely and more important, we win. But you cannot only see this round through the insular lens that they suggest. So, on fulfillment, and do you actually get it? They say that you are going to be more fulfilled because you are chasing for the championship. We counter with the following. First of all, you're already pretty fulfilled. Why? Because you've had a long career. You're aware that you're on the way down, and you've had a title reign already. You've been the champion of a different promotion at some point before. You're already regarded as one of the best. You're being offered an opportunity to go against one of the legends of the game. If these things do not fill you with a sense of fulfillment and pride and recognition that you may be one of the best already, it is unclear why a fight against someone that you've lost to already before is unique in its ability to make you feel fulfillment. But here's the thing. we argue that this possibly makes you feel less fulfilled. And the reason for this was straightforward, right? It is because you are likely to lose this fight against Oliveira. And the reason for this was as follows, right? The first is that you relied on your athleticism. You relied on being stronger, faster, and quicker than your opponents. But you're kind of an idiot. As you've gotten older, you've become slower, you've become less strong, and your IQ has remained roughly the same, meaning that you're equally prone to mistakes, but now you hit less hard and you're less capable of outspeeding your opponent, meaning that you are less likely to win this fight against Oliveira. I would reckon that rather than having a reputation of being neck and neck with the current number 2, where everybody knows that when you were at your peak, you guys were equal to each other, now proving, especially recently, that you are categorically worse and get the shit kicked out of them makes it such that your legacy and sense of fulfillment gets to the point where you are seen as categorically a worse fighter. But this contributes to the other senses of self that we established that you care about. We outline that if you lose to Oliveira, what happens is, first of all, you make less money, right? You come off as a loser, meaning that you have less brands that want to work with you. You lost the fight, which means you make less money for the fight as a whole. And I struggle to understand why Conor McGregor, one of the legends of the game, one of the most profitable people to ever be in the UFC, would want to fight a 38-year-old who just got their head caved in. I don't think it's likely. I would reckon that they probably want to fight against someone who's maybe still got a bit of prestige about them, but didn't just publicly humiliate themselves in a loss. So, how does this affect your health and well-being? Well, panel, I reckon that losing a fight to someone who's better than you and getting your head punched in a few times, bad for your health. I'm willing to assert that. So when we weigh and compare these two things, it is unclear whether or not this achieves your goal of fulfillment. We at worst counter and equal their analysis on this, but outline that it has much worse outcomes associated with it. But what happens in the event? So why is it that this fight with McGregor, we actually argue, is reasonably likely to happen, right? We think it's likely to happen, first of all, because, well, he can't duck you forever, right? At a certain point, he has a reputation to uphold of being the baddest, the meanest, or whatever else, that he can't perennially avoid this fight as you continually challenge him, and it's been offered. Secondly, his PR is in the gutter, right? He literally just got convicted of sexual assault and a variety of other crimes. I bet he would like the world to start talking about his upcoming fight and how excited they are to see a legend back in the ring, much more than they would like to talk about how he's a rapist. So he's probably a bit motivated to get back in. He's also motivated because he just lost a lot of money in this, right? Meaning that he would like to get a quick payday from the UFC and his best friend Dana White so he can pay off all the lawyers he just had to pay for. The fourth reason why I think that this is particularly likely, never mind. So I think that this is likely to happen as time goes on. So the Infoslide claims that you're more likely to win this fight, so I don't even have to mechanize for you why you're likely to win this fight. But now that we've established that this fight is pretty likely to happen in the short to medium term, that they had 2 speeches prior to try to engage with and say that it wouldn't happen, so kind of shocking that they're letting us just run away with that point. Why would you choose a fight that pays you less money, that you're less likely to win, in place of a fight that is reasonably likely to happen, pays you a whole hell of a lot more money, and in the event that it doesn't happen, you get to continue living in whatever nice house that you have with less brain damage than you currently have? The weighing at that point seems relatively clear. Less brain damage and the potential of a lot more money, rather than more brain damage and less money. So, let's win the debate by a little bit more, shan't we? They say, well, you really want this title shot, with no mechanization behind it, but you really want this title shot. We established from opposition that McGregor is like the guy for Dana White, right? The reason for this is because McGregor made massive amounts of money for the UFC when the UFC was almost regulated out of existence by many governments across North America and Europe. What this means is that Dana White in particular is the person who decides who's in each fight at each event. Meaning that if you beat someone who Dana himself personally regards as the greatest fighter of all time, he might start throwing you really good fighting opportunities, such as a world championship, or just increase the pay that you're given for future fights because you've beaten someone that they've established as a GOAT. But there's a second reason for this, right? The general public is not that aware of who Oliveira is, right? Sure, people who like UFC do know them probably quite well, but the people who only buy like big name pay-per-views don't know who this is. But they sure as hell know who Conor McGregor is. And they also know that Conor McGregor is one of the greatest fighters ever to live. So if they say you dominate Conor McGregor in this fight, they're gonna go, wow, I really should watch this guy because he just beat someone who I know to be an established legend and GOAT of the game. This guy clearly must be the real deal, which provides a financial incentive for why UFC should continue to promote you and give you big fights and possible championship opportunities, meaning that it is unclear why, if you care about the fulfillment of becoming the best, why this is a particularly good pathway to be able to do this. They say, well, the problem is that you'll look like a coward if you reject this fight. People will think you're a pussy on the internet. First of all, panel, I believe that the comments on Twitter are arguably the least viable things you as an MMA fighter should care about when it comes to whether or not you believe you are a pussy. I feel like given you are a mountain of a person who could kill any of them with your bare hands, I don't think you take these opinions particularly credibly. But to engage in what we call structural and material analysis, first of all, you can use this as an opportunity to call out Conor McGregor, right? To outline, hey, I'm not taking this fight because Conor McGregor owes me a fight. He's been ducking me for years, and I know he has nowhere to hide, no one to go home to, and nowhere to run. I want to fight him now. I think that the general public will go, what a compelling reason to not take a fight against someone else right now, and why not wait until this fight comes along? They say, well, the public isn't going to care about this as much, and as a result, this is generally speaking going to make you look bad. Because they're going to think you're weak or whatever for not accepting this chance. I think that unfortunately this is a little bit symmetric, right? The public is also a little bit aware that you're currently ranked number 6 and are only being given a number 1 contendership match because Conor McGregor is like stiff-arming you and like not taking this fight. So it's also equally likely that the fans go, well, what about number 3? What about number 4? What about number 5? Shouldn't they be given opportunities first? So in as much as this is a possible source of backlash, it is an equal source of backlash that exists on their side, making it symmetric. Panel, this tournament, we have exclusively run cases about fake fighting in the WWE. It is quite fun to have done a round about the UFC from proposition in this round. However, they have not been able to establish why you care about your legacy in the way that they say that you do. They have not been able to establish why this is the better financial choice for you. As the old head who has been debating for a long time, who has not done an in-person tournament since before the pandemic as a competitor, I'm exceptionally proud to oppose.
Finally call on the PI to give a reply, not exceeding 4 minutes, to close out this great debate. Here.
3, 2, 1. Panel, the last time I ran a mixed martial arts motion in a Seagram's out round, we just got spec called, so thank you to opposition for taking us seriously. This has been a great debate. With that being said, opposition loses this debate insofar as they ignore all the characterization that we have given you about like who Michael Chandler is, what a pro fighter is, what a pro fighter like cares about, what it is to be a fighter, etc. Right? So they tell us that like Conor McGregor is an all-time great, he's a credible fight for Chandler to take, and that the fans like respect Chandler already, blah blah blah. We've already taken this down, none of this matters, but I have 4 minutes, so I'm gonna use them, right? Because government never actually characterizes Chandler as wanting money. They just tell us that you like get more money on their side of the house. I think this is like critically important, especially when we already mitigate this by saying we probably like have money already, and like we tell you ways that you can get money that are not like contingent on taking this fight, especially when you're like taken more seriously as a fighter, right? Like also like beyond this, McGregor does not give you a title shot because according to First Speaker's own characterization, he is an alcoholic drug addict who's constantly wrapped up in legal issues. He's clearly in a steep decline, like very different from like Dustin Poirier is when he got a title shot out of beating him. And if we're bringing real spec, I'll say that like Nate Diaz beat McGregor and never even came close to fighting for a UFC title. But that's beside the point, right? I think we were being charitable and not characterizing the McGregor fight as Mickey Mouse. But because opposition First Speaker does characterize McGregor as Mickey Mouse, like a Mickey Mouse fighter fighter who you're going to beat easily. Let's flip this on them and say that nobody's actually going to respect you for beating an old and washed Conor McGregor, and you're not going to get any respect out of winning this fight, right? We all watched Jake Paul beat the piss out of Mike Tyson on Netflix, but that did not get Jake Paul an undisputed heavyweight boxing title fight against the champion Alexander Usyk. In fact, most people said, wow, Jake Paul looks really bad for doing this, right? And also, like, I'll just say that Mike Tyson is also, like, a drug addict with, like, sexual assault scandals. Like, he's in the same position as McGregor is, right? And beyond that, like, I don't know, I've been debating for 4.5 years, and Alicia has a nod, but she's still better than me. I think, like, who's been around for longer has no, like, bearing on this. This is the biggest blunder that opposition makes, among many. Like, they should have told us that you get the title shot off of McGregor, but ignored the idea that McGregor is, like, a washed-up drug addict who you're going to beat easily. This is, like, case tension, right? The idea that Dana White will give you a title shot is completely asserted, first of all, but second of all, like, Dana doesn't matter. Even if you do get a title shot, it's like the general perception, your own self-image, and criticism from the fans. These are like huge mechs that go completely ignored, even by second speaker who had all this time to like think about them and engage with them, even in the midst of second speaker's DLO dump, right? Like, I think that, like, you know, there's this, well, I'll get to their case tension later, right? I think they tell us, like, they tell you that we have not proven that this is the only way to be the best, the only way to get a title shot, whatever. I'll note this is a prefers motion, right? Like, we're weighing two different worlds. But, like, beyond this, they say you're going to feel worse about yourself as a fighter after, like, Oliveira kicks the shit out of you. I mean, I don't know. They say it themselves. We are old. We're 37 years old. Like, there's not much tread left in our tires, right? I think we have this excuse for the fans if we lose. We have this excuse for, like, ourselves if we lose to Oliveira. I think, like, overall the fan base cares about entertaining fights, right? Everyone loses at the end of their careers, right? On this idea that your health is worse from fighting better fighters, this is new material from second speaker. It's also like a risk you accept in your pursuit of being the best, a bargain you've made your whole life because you are a professional fighter. I'll also say we weigh this anyways because if I'm 80 and my knees are tubes of sugar, I'm probably going to be more okay with it if I feel like I sacrificed them for my own legacy rather than like a nice car. But like this logic they have of Chandler ignores the fact that he's a pro fighter, right? And again, they never tell us why he cares about money. They never deal with our mechs about why we can get a lot of money off of our branding on our side of the house. On this idea, you don't want the title shot. Again, we've told you we have pride. We have sports media scrutiny. We have angry fans. I'll note that fans are much more important in this debate rather than the general public that they talk about. It's like the fans, not the general public, will be calling you a coward and a fraud in your wife's Instagram comments. Panel, please write this down. Opposition cannot play both worlds where you know you're number 6, you know who you are in your circumstances, but they do not know who the number 2 and former champion Charles Oliveira is. This is like massive case tension. You cannot have both worlds where they know who you are, they don't know who Oliveira is, right? Like, we've also proven Conor's not as respected as a fighter in the fighting community. I'm going to leave you in the words of Chandler himself. I'll see you at the top. Okay.
I'd like to thank that speaker for that great speech. Thanks to all the debaters for an entertaining final. Feel free to cross the floor and shake hands, and we'll head out and view it. Great.